Chapter 70. Kevin smoked several cigarettes in the corridor just now, trying to figure out what happened earlier. He lit the cigarette and took several puffs. Every puff was very heavy. As soon as the cigarette turned into ash, he will light another up. Perhaps he became angry when Karen was not willing to give him an explanation. He was her husband. As long as she explained to him, he would believe whatever she said, but she was reluctant to give him an explanation. What was so great about Charlie Gook? Why was Karen still involved with him after he hurt her so badly? In Kevin's opinion, Charlie was an arrogant and rude guy who came from a filthy rich family. He never took Charlie seriously. He never expects that he would lose to Charlie in Karen's heart. After hearing that Charlie said that he and Karen were childhood sweethearts, and that kind of relationship was indeed the purest, but those feelings should be in the past now, shouldn't it? Kevin was very clear that Karen was now his wife, and she will spend the rest of her life with Kevin. Kevin didn't know why he was being so possessive over Karen suddenly. He had never felt such desire before in his life. It was so strong that it felt unbelievable. At that moment, there was only one thought in Kevin's mind. He must win this woman over completely and own her so that she can become his. Then, she would not be able to escape from him anymore. What a naive and ridiculous idea, but it really appeared in Kevin's mind. His thoughts were racing in his head. Kevin, at the age of 22, officially took over the big business empire, Rovio Incorporation Inc., from his father. Over the years, he had made great plans. No matter what kind of difficulties he faced, nothing could disrupt his mind. Why did he suddenly become so possessive over Karen? Kevin couldn't figure out why. Was it because of her identity as his wife, or were there other reasons? For the first time, a powerful man like him did not know what he was thinking. It was very quiet inside the car. Kevin closed his eyes and Karen looked out of the window. Both of them were in their own world. Usually, when they were together, Karen would take the initiative to find something to talk about, because she knew that Kevin was someone who doesn't talk much. It would be impossible for him to take the initiative to chat with her. Karen didn't mind that she had to take the initiative every time. When two people are together, one of them will have to take the initiative and the other will be passive. The only way to spend their whole life together is to accept each other's flaws. But today, Karen really did not want to talk to him. She didn't know what to say to him and did not even want to see him. The two of them just kept quiet all the way until they reached home. No one said a word. After returning home, Kevin went to the study as usual. Karen took off her gown, then she carefully fixed the broken pieces using thread and needle. She was experienced in designing clothes, so Karen added some designs to her gown when sewing it up. Perhaps this may be disrespectful to the original designer, but when the idea popped in her head, and despite her being usually sensible and careful, Karen did not hold back this time. Over the years, she changed her job into another job that was not related to fashion design. She tried hard not to think about fashion design, but her passion for fashion design cannot be worn out over time. Karen did not know whether if she bought this gown or rented it. Anyway, she still needed to tidy it up first and wash it tomorrow. It was almost 1 o'clock in the morning after she took a shower, but Kevin was still in the study. Karen went to bed as usual. Not knowing how long since she fell asleep when Karen was in her dreams, she could feel the other side of the big bed sunk slightly. Kevin had already laid next to her. He approached her and pulled her to his arms, calling her name in a deep voice. Karen. Actually, Karen wasn't sleeping very well. When Kevin laid down, she had already woken up, but she did not say anything. But when he reached out to her, her body froze, and what happened at the banquet earlier came into her mind again. He was rough with her. At that moment, she felt like she saw a demon who can swallow her. Karen? Kevin wanted to talk about what happened tonight. He was sorry, but he felt that apology was the most useless thing to do in the world. Anyone could say those fancy words, but not everyone would be able to do, as they say, so he didn't say it. Especially when he saw marks on her neck, collarbone, and on her chest, he couldn't say a word. Her skin was fair and delicate, and the marks he made looked so scary, as if the marks were narrating his violent acts silently. Taryn? He called her name softly again. Karen moved his hand to the side, away from her, keeping a distance from him. She said calmly, It's late. Go to sleep. The distance between them made Kevin's heart ache, and he had never felt like this before. Kevin didn't say anything. He just stared at her back quietly. He could not fall asleep as time passed. They didn't mention what happened at the banquet tonight, as if they could just pretend as nothing happened and move on with their lives. They did not know that the best way to deal with a problem is to face it. Avoiding the problem will only cause a bigger problem in the future. The next day, Karen slept until late in the morning. On the weekends, Karen didn't have to go to work, and she had nothing else to do. Sleeping late was the best enjoyment. After she opened her eyes, she looked at the window. She saw a man and a dog. Today Kevin was not holding any newspaper in his hands. He stood by the window, and he was staring out of the window quietly. No one knew what was going through his mind. Momo sat beside Kevin's feet. It was rolling on the ground from time to time. It was trying to attract someone's attention after being too bored. Kevin turned around and said softly, You're awake. Kevin's sexy and pleasant voice came into Karen's ears. She nodded and did not say anything. Momo ran over to her and Karen held it in her arms. She patted Momo's head and said, "Baby, Mom doesn't need to work today. I can play with you." Woof woof woof. Momo barked a few times. Momo snuggled in Karen's arm, looking very excited. "You get up and freshen up. I'll wait for you to have lunch together." After a pause, Kevin added, "How about we go out for a walk together in the afternoon?" They had been married for quite some time, but Kevin was never free on any of the weekends. Except for the last time they went on that villa retreat, they mostly just spent the weekends at home. Chapter 71. On the weekend, when Kevin was working in the study, Karen was sitting on the balcony reading. Although it seemed very boring, Karen liked this kind of peaceful days very much. Time had passed by peacefully. Today, Kevin suddenly proposed to go for a walk. Was he trying to apologize for what happened last night? Regardless of his intentions, Karen would just assume that he was thinking this way. She forced a smile and said, "I have an appointment with someone at noon. Can I go out with you later?" "Okay." Kevin nodded and did not say anything else. Then he turned to look out of the window. Watching his lonely figure, Karen suddenly can't bear to see him like that and added, "I just need to say a few things to that person." "It won't take much time." Karen promised to meet Christine. The purpose of Karen's meeting with Christine was to ask about her mother's condition. She didn't want to talk about anything else with Christine. Kevin turned around and there was a glimpse of light in his eyes. "Can I go with you after lunch?" Kevin was asking Karen in a questioning tone. He was waiting for her answer. Karen was going to see Christine, who was a part of a very painful memory of her past. Karen was not willing to let Kevin accompany her. Kevin would be her everything now and also her future. She will deal with everything in the past on her own. She didn't want to drag him in and cause any trouble to him, but she can't bear to refuse Kevin's request. She was struggling so much because she didn't know how to answer. Then she heard Kevin say, "Go and wash up. I'll go out first and wait for you for lunch." He came over, picked Momo up, and went to the living room. When he put Momo on the sofa, he stared at Momo with an unfriendly gaze. Woof woof woof. Momo was very intelligent. It could feel Kevin's unfriendly gaze. It tried to use its own way to confront him. After barking for some time, Momo's voice softened. This man was so scary. Just by looking at him, his aura was so overwhelming that Momo did not want to bark anymore. If Momo could talk, Momo would ask her mother to bring it far away from such a cold man. Woo, this man was so scary. Why must he look at it with such a horrifying look? Well, it couldn't fight him, so it ran back to its mother for rescue. However, as soon as it ran, Kevin reached out and brought it back. Kevin also patted its head like Karen and said, "Be a good girl." Momo laid on his stomach and didn't dare to move anymore. It was so afraid that this evil man would break its neck. Kevin patted its head again. For someone who was a germaphobe like him, he had never been in contact with small animals. The reason why he accepted this little pet was that it was a very important pet to Karen. She regarded it as her child. After getting along with it for some time, he found out that small animals were not as annoying as he imagined. Sometimes they could be quite cute. Especially when it made Karen happy. It was so easy for Momo to make Karen laugh, but he couldn't. Karen washed up and saw them together. Momo knelt beside Kevin comfortably while Kevin was gently patting its head. At first, she was worried that Kevin would not accept Momo, but after observing for a while, she realized that Kevin just didn't like to express his feelings. Actually, he likes Momo. But anyway, Momo was so cute. How could anyone not like Momo? "Momo, are you playing with Uncle Kevin?" Karen stood beside them and patted Momo's head. "Uncle Kevin?" Kevin was not satisfied with these words. He frowned slightly and said, "Karen, I am your husband." She didn't know why he suddenly emphasized this again. Karen looked at him with a puzzled face and nodded. "I know." Was he trying to emphasize that it was right for him to do what he did to her yesterday? Why was she thinking about what happened last night again? She promised that she will not think about it anymore, and that they would live happily together. Karen really felt like slapping herself. "Kevin." Kevin didn't say a word, and Karen brought Momo over and said, "Let's go. I'll get you something to eat. Let's go for a walk when you're done eating." The lunch was prepared by Aunt Jen. She cooked some simple home-cooked dishes, but it was very tasty, and Karen enjoyed eating the dishes. Kevin did not move his fork. He kept looking over at Karen. She always had a smile on her face. She always spoke so gently and softly. She gave people an impression where she had been through a lot in her life, and she had already made peace with her life, as if nothing can affect her anymore. "Karen, I will fetch you there later." After some time, Kevin confirmed their plans. "Okay." Karen answered while eating without looking up. The charity banquet last night had attracted the celebrities in Chatterton Town, but Charlie was chased out instead. They didn't invite the media, but this matter had soon spread among the high society circle and reached Charlie's ears. The news didn't actually reach him. Instead, he sent someone to ask about it. He was very concerned about what those people thought about him last night. As soon as he tried to ask about it, he heard the only bad news. People said that he was rude and ill-mannered. Most importantly, he offended Leo Kyle from Rovio Incorporation, Inc. That was the first time Charlie was embarrassed in front of so many people last night. Anyone would have felt embarrassed in such a scene, not just Charlie. Charlie got angrier the more he thought about it. It was like a ticking time bomb. He really could explode any time. Lincoln ran in and shouted, "Young master, something happened. Something serious happened." Charlie said in frustration, "What are you panicking about? How serious can it be?" Lincoln handed the local newspaper Charlie and said, "Look, the Yellman family is going to work with innovative tech." Yellman family? Charlie picked up the newspaper and had glanced at it quickly. He said angrily, "What is Chris Yellman thinking about?" The Gook family was one of the well-known companies in Beaufort City, and the Yellman family was the equal counterpart of the South. In Charlie's opinion, if Rovio Incorporation Inc. were to choose a partner in business, they will most likely choose from these two families. Over the years, the Gook family had worked together with the Yellman family. The two families were not really friends, but partners. Why did Chris Yellman choose Innovative Tech over Gook family's company? Isn't Innovative Tech just a small company? Was Chris Yellman trying to show his generosity so that Leo Kyle could see it, and he would increase the chance of winning the project with Rovio Incorporation Inc.? While he was still trying to figure it out, Charlie's phone rang. Just by listening to this ringtone, he knew that it was a call from his father. He took a deep breath and answered, "Dad." "Bustard, what on earth have you been doing in the Chatterton town these days? Why are you causing trouble for me? Get back here right now." Charlie endured his scoldings in silence. Chapter 72. Charlie had never been scolded like this by his father since he was a child. He was very angry, and he blames this on Kevin and Karen. If it weren't for Kevin, who was playing tricks behind his back, how is it possible that the Yellman family suddenly chose to cooperate with Innovative Tech? Also, he surely will not be embarrassed at the charity banquet of Rovio Incorporation Inc. Charlie clenched his fists and crumpled the newspaper as if that newspaper was Kevin, who he wanted to choke to death so badly. "Charlie, what happened?" Actually, Christine already heard about what happened, but she pretended like she didn't know anything. All men like silly women. So Christine would try to disguise herself as an obedient and silly woman when she was around Charlie. Charlie was furious, but when he saw Christine's face, it's like he saw a glimpse of hope again. So he forced a smile and asked, "When are you meeting with Karen?" "Yes, I had already made an appointment with her. I will have lunch with her at noon today." Christine smiled gently, seemingly unbothered by the fact that Charlie was thinking about another woman. "You are so wonderful. No wonder you are my good wife." Charlie reached out his arm and hugged. "Let's go." Christine stopped him and said, "Charlie, there are some things when spoken by me, she might listen, but if you were there." Actually, Christine bribed the people around Charlie. She was aware of all his actions during this period. She knew very well that Charlie had not managed to approach Karen yet. Karen's attitude towards him was as cold as ice. As for her appointment with Karen, only she knew her real purpose for the meeting. How can she let Charlie follow her and ruin her plan? Christine arrived early at the restaurant and ordered a few dishes that Karen liked. While waiting for Karen, Christine thought about what happened a long time ago. That year, when Christine was 8 years old, Karen was 6 years old. They moved to a new place with their father and met Charlie, who was only 10 years old. Her father told her to be the friend of the young master of the Gook family and not to make him unhappy. Christine kept her father's words vividly in her mind. After that, whenever young Master Charlie was around, she would treat him nicely and carefully. However, at such a young age, Karen did not care so much. She was still young then, so she never listened to her father's words. She even bit Charlie once in a dispute. No one expected that after Karen bit Charlie, their relationship had gotten even better and closer. Charlie even threatened anyone who dared to bully Karen. He was very nice to Karen after that. At that time, Christine did not understand why Charlie was so nice to Karen. She was always there for him, but why could he not appreciate her? Her father wanted her to get close to Charlie, hoping that she could win Charlie's heart and become the eldest daughter-in-law of the Gook family in the future. However, Charlie could only see Karen in his eyes. No matter where he went, Karen was with him. There was never a place for Christine. Years went by, and they grew up. Christine's father had tried to train Christine to be excellent enough to be capable of helping Charlie in the future. Her father had arranged for her to go to the United States to study economics so that she could be fully prepared to enter the Gook family in the future. However, after 2 years, she went to the United States. There was news that Charlie had already engaged to Karen. That's the man that she had always wanted, and her father had always told her that she would be Charlie's bride in the future. Why was he engaged to Karen? She was still waiting to graduate from her studies, and then return to be Charlie's beautiful bride. However, she was far away from home when she received such heartbreaking news. At that moment, she felt like the sky was falling down, as if it was the end of the world, and her heart ached tremendously. The pain in her heart did not go away until someone else appeared before her. She had never seen a man who was so elegant, well-mannered before, and he even had the perfect look. She was deeply attracted by the man at first sight. After asking around, she found out that the man was doing his master's in finance at Harvard University, and his name was Matthew Kyle. She knew nothing about him. Later, she met him at the school's debate conference. She created an opportunity for him to notice her. Finally, she had the opportunity to talk to him. She took the initiative to go after him, sent him emails, and even became his girlfriend. It was funny how he was always very busy and hardly seen. After becoming his girlfriend, she only met him twice. One of them was at the school's social meetup. The other time was when she took the initiative to arrange for a date, but he left before he could even finish a cup of coffee. They were in a relationship for 2 months, but they didn't even hold hands. Perhaps in his mind, he wouldn't remember her at all. Since he didn't care about her at all, why did he agree to be her boyfriend at that time? Or perhaps she was the only one who cared about being in a relationship with him. Ever since she returned from abroad, she never saw him ever again. However, compared to a man who was outstanding in his appearance and qualities, she was more interested in someone with power. Charlie of the Gook family was the one whom she always wanted to marry. On the day Christine returned from abroad, Karen was busy with her design work, so Christine asked Charlie to pick her up. It was Charlie who announced the news again at that time. Karen was always so busy with her studies and work, she rarely had time to accompany Charlie, not to mention to work on their relationship. Then Charlie began to complain. Christine knew her opportunity was coming. She wanted to interfere in their relationship. She immediately came up with an idea. In the hot summer, it was easy to have a heat stroke. So, Christine pretended to faint in Charlie's arms. When a man and a woman are in contact with each other, that's when sparks ignite. They went to a hotel before they went home that day. Charlie wanted to be with Christine again and again, but he was calling her by Karen's name a lot. Christine didn't care. She was the one lying beneath him instead of Karen. She won. Karen was always so busy with studies and work, so she should continue to be. As a sister, Christine would do things that her sister was unwilling to do. When you have tried some things, there will be a second time and the next, and soon it will become a habit.